Hello, guys. This is George from the Great Homesteading in the Great Outdoors. I'll get it right one of these days. Anyways, I did this really cool video that lasted about 15 minutes, and it's gone. I don't know what happened to it. This is part of being a rookie YouTuber and no good at technology. Anyway, so I'm just going to cut it brief. One of the things with the video when I watched it, uh, I had the chains. I had several different chains lined out, and they were making a lot of noise, and it was hard for me to, or hard for you guys probably to hear me on the computer or on the phone. Yeah, excuse me. Um, anyways, this was talking about grades of chain for agricultural and light construction uses. So I knew for a long time. I knew that there was different sizes of chains, anywhere from quarter inch all the way up to half inch, maybe larger, but not for that, not for those particular situation or applications. Um, what I am used to using for pulling people out that are stuck and for moving logs and pulling out shrubs and that kind of stuff is usually anywhere from a 5/16 inch to 3/8 to 7/16. Now, one of the things I didn't know, because sometimes you don't know, well, you never know what you don't know until you know it, and you don't know that you don't know it. Anyways, I didn't know that chains came in different grades for a long time. So there's basically, say, about 5 different grades of chain that would ever be used by a homeowner or somebody that's not like big boats or big huge transportation and recovery things. Um, that's grade 30, which is an unmarked chain. It's just a cheat. It's not a bad chain. It's just the lowest grade chain. And then there's a grade 43, and then there's a grade 70, a grade 80, a grade 100, and a grade 120. The grade 120 is a fairly new grade, and those grades 70, 80, 100, and 110, 120, you're probably not going to use. They're expensive. You don't need that kind of a chain, that kind of metal that they use for those kind of chains. Those are more for your tow trucks, your big recovery rigs, especially the 120 and the 100. And then for overhead lifting, like lifting containers and stuff, I believe 70 is the minimum, and that's where they use your 70s, 80s, 100s, and 120s. So recovery vehicles and like unloading ships and stuff like that. But for the most part, all you need is about a 43 grade, a 30 or a 43 grade chain. Now the examples that I had is I have three different size chains that I use. I use a 5/16, 3/8, and a 7/16. One of the things I mentioned was a 7/16 inch versus a 5/16 inch chain. Doesn't sound like a lot, but when you get up to about 20 feet in length, it really does raise the weight. And for my age and for being out of shape and the different application situations you use it, I'd rather go with a higher grade and a smaller chain than, not shorter, but smaller chain. I have a what I typically have always used in the past was a 5/16 grade 43. I have a lot of chains in 3/8 and 7/16 that are grade 30. It works fine for what I use them for, um, but I have decided that I just want to go with the grade 43. And with the grades, except for the grade 30, they are marked, and they have to be marked by industry standards. At least every 3 feet, there has to be a stamp on one of the links that says what grade it is, whether it's a 43, a 70, an 80, a 100, 120. You will see those stamped, and you will see those stamped on the hooks and any attachments that go with it. That's a requirement. So that's one way you can find out what grade your chain is. And if it's not marked, it's a grade 30. You just have to take it as the lowest grade that they make. Um, I have a small chain that I use uh, in conjunction with a snatch strap so that my snatch strap doesn't get cut, doesn't get tied up into a knot that's impossible to undo after you've pulled somebody out of the mud or pulled real hard on a stump or a shrub. uh, and that's just 30 grade. Um, so there are different grades of chain, and the higher the grade, the more load capacity, and the thicker the chain, the higher the grade capacity is. So obviously, uh, a 5/16 43 grade is going to be less working limit load than a 7/16 in a 43 grade. That makes sense. So there's three basic things that you have to look for in the strength of your chain. Number one, the grade. What grade is it? Number two, the size of the chain itself, and number three, the overall condition of the chain. If you have one link in there that has been scarred up or just some kind of damage has happened to it, the chain is only as strong as the weakest link, and you have to pair, um, at least match. Like if you have a 43 grade chain, you don't want to put 30 grade hooks on it because then your chain is only as good as a 30 grade. So you try to keep those the same because if you have a 30 or let's say a 43 grade chain and you go out and buy 70 or 80 or 100 grade hooks, they're a lot more expensive than a 43 grade, and you just need to keep it the same for expenses. And one of the downfalls of a larger chain, like I said before, 7/16 or a half-inch chain, those things are heavy, especially when they get long. When you get to be about 20 feet long, they are heavy. And in a lot of these situations, especially out mudding when we're out hunting and stuff, you need to have some distance. And if you don't have a winch, you need to carry some chains and some snatch straps. One of the things I said in the video earlier with the snatch straps is I've got one that's wrapped up. It's a 2-inch by 30 feet, and the working capacity on that working load is 6,000 pounds, which is higher by 600 pounds than a 43 grade 3/8 inch chain. It's a lot lighter, but the problem that I have with the snatch straps is after they've been used 2 or 3 times, you need to start really watching them. Make sure they don't have nicks and cuts. Make sure that the webbing is not coming apart. Just give it a good look through and make sure that it's in good shape when it's in your truck. I keep those inside my truck so that they preserve themselves as long as possible. So when they're out in the sun and the heat and the rain and stuff, the life expectancy just goes down. I don't know how many times I've seen guys pulling other guys out with a 2-inch, 3-inch, 4-inch strap, and they just snap because they're old and they've deteriorated over time. So that's the main thing about that I want to talk about is different chains have different grades. And right now, what I carry in my truck all times is a snatch strap, 2-inch, 6,000 working pound, about a 15-foot 3/8 inch grade 43 and a 5/16 inch grade 43, which is also, they're both about 15 feet. And I keep those, and those seem to do me well. It gives me close to 60 feet of length to get me pulled out if I get stuck or somebody else gets stuck. Anyways, I'm going to sneeze again. Excuse me. So, thanks for watching. I appreciate you taking the time to watch. Hopefully, this will help somebody to learn. There are different grades out there, and if you get into a situation where you're lifting things over your head, check your grades out. Go online. They have charts, and they've got all kinds of information online. Chains do have an industry standard that they have to meet in order to be those different grades. And if you're doing stuff overhead, by all means, check those things out. Make sure you've got the right everything, the hooks and the chains and every piece of equipment you're using on that line just for safety issues. All right, guys, have a great day. Love you, and we'll see you on the next video.